Good morning and welcome back to Not So Brand Garage. Today we are going to start a two-part video series on the differences of driving on a single tank system versus a dual tank system with alternative fuel. So today we're going to take the old budget Benz to work. It's about a 15-mile drive, and I'll show you how it runs, and from the cold start, it hasn't been ran all weekend, till I get into town. So it'll be a little bit of highway driving and everything else, so I'll be able to show you what kind of smoke it puts out and just how it drives overall. We'll go over some of the pros and cons of a single tank system, and then the next video we'll do the same with a dual tank setup. So anyways, we're gonna be late, so let's get going. So, typically speaking, this car starts pretty well. Even when it's been sitting all weekend, it does require a little bit of throttle to get it going and keep it going. But with the glow plugs and everything in it, it's got new glow plugs in it, and we keep up on that. But it starts pretty good. I just keep my foot in it just a little bit, keep the RPM up until it warms up just a little bit. Anyways, let's get on the road. As you can tell, it's typically pretty hazy in the mornings when it's cold, but as long as we're not doing any short trips and stuff like that, it tends to clear up when it warms up. One of the issues with a single tank setup is short trips, and if you're going to be making any short trips consistently, the single tank starts to have issues, mainly with excess haze and stuff like that, because the engine, because combustion temperatures aren't staying hot enough to burn off everything. You're not putting enough pressure in the cylinders to keep them clean. So as long as you're doing longer drives, it's typically not that bad. But anyways, you'll see just some normal driving, and once the engine warms up, I'll do a couple wide open throttle pulls just to show you the overall smoke output in comparison to what you'd normally see on diesel fuel. Just to give you an idea of what you're looking at. Now, this car isn't fast. It's never been. The engine was pretty tired when I got it. I ran a compression test on it, and compression was kind of weak, but which may explain some of the hazing and whatnot this thing gets, but it runs good. I mean, I know that the odometer died on this thing approximately 15 years ago, and it was showing over 200,000 miles on it then. So the likelihood that it's got over 300,000 on it now is pretty high. But overall, it runs well. It's not a speed demon by any means, especially with the bigger tires I've got on it and the factory gearing that's in it. It takes its time to get up to speed, but I'm pretty used to it. So as far as performance goes, there's not much difference driving between our black diesel mix and diesel fuel. Now, what's in the tank right now is a 50-50 blend of diesel fuel and what I call W90. It's 90% used motor oil and 10% gasoline. And that seems to work pretty well for us. I don't run more than 50-50 in this car on a single tank because of the coking and the hazing issues that I have. Plus, this car does make short trips from time to time. So I try to avoid driving at short distances and sitting in drive-thrus and things like that. Well, by the time I leave, he'll typically be hazing pretty good, so I try to avoid that. But this car runs back and forth to work mainly, so it sees more highway now than anything. Now that the engine's up to temperature, I'll give it a wide open throttle pull. So on the rear view is pretty smoky, but not terrible. I'm sure in factory form the Mercedes wouldn't be smoking very much. But again, this engine is tired, so it does haze pretty good on straight diesel fuel as well. Another thing, I typically drive this car pretty hard, so the effects of a single tank setup are reduced quite a bit by that. Diesel engines, especially ones ran on an alternative fuel, don't like to be babied. No mechanical diesel likes to be babied, so drive them, put them under pressure, put a load on them, get the EGTs up, and that helps eliminate a lot of problems. Got water meth injection on this car. I've been curious if there's much of a difference between on the exhaust output while that water methanol system's running. So now that I'm out on the highway, I'm going to kick it down and take a look at the video. Now that I've ran the water injection system a little bit, I'll give it another wide open throttle pull here as soon as we get out back on the highway and see if there's any noticeable difference. Tell anything from the mirror. It looks like it's staying pretty clean, so we'll get to see that together once I edit this video together. Now we're back into traffic. Well, we've made it in town, and no major hiccups, which I didn't expect. This thing runs and drives great. It always has. But the main issues with a single tank system. Cons. Okay. Exhaust haze, especially if taking short trips, tends to be a problem. Running much more than a 50-50 mix of an alternative fuel and diesel fuel tends to lead to problems with injector coking and things like that. I've tried more before and ran into some issues, but yeah, that's pretty well it. And see, my preference is a 2-tank setup. Why is that? It's because I can run 100% of my fuel in one tank and diesel fuel in the other. So when I'm taking short trips and when I'm sitting idling for a long period of time, I can be on diesel fuel and you'll never notice a difference. But when I'm out on the road, driving, even in stop and go traffic, it doesn't seem to matter. I can be on my fuel and I can be running 100% instead of only 50%. So it's a cost difference. Cons of a 2-tank setup: cost. Single tank's obviously easy. You've already got it. And you don't have to have, there's no extra cost in it. A 2-tank setup, you've got the cost of the tank, the lines, the time to set it up, the valves. It's another investment. But if you're going to be keeping the vehicle for a long period of time, it's not really a big deal, at least to me. But the cost savings, being able to run 100% of homemade fuel in one tank, is more than the cost of building the 2-tank system. But anyways, I better get inside, so I think I'm going to cut this off here. The second part of this video, I'm going to be driving the flatbed, which has got a 2-tank system on it. I'll drive it into town here in the next couple days. The video will probably drop the following week. So, and that's about it. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, and we appreciate you watching.